Good evening, good evening, good evening. Let's go. Good evening, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Terrence. Let's make it public. Let's make it public. All right. We're having some technical difficulties here. I'm going to get my guest on in a second, but we're having some technical difficulties. So let's make it public. Let me add him to the stage. One moment. Let's make it public. Let's make it public. Hold on a moment. Hold on a moment. Let's make it public. Hope you're doing well, folks. Hope you're doing well. Edit privacy. It's public now. Everybody can share it now. Welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Terrence. My name is Terrence Bardui. Some people call me H. Some people call me Havis. Some people call me Terrence. Some people call me Mr. Bardui, and some people call me Luca Boy. That's little boy. If you're going all the way back to the 767, YT Kubuli, the Commonwealth of Dominica. Dominica made me, Boston raised me, now the South sustains me. How are you beautiful people doing? Hope you're doing well. As people are starting to come in, let me see if there's a song I could play as people are starting to come in before I bring my guest. I have him on here. I'm going to mute him for a moment. I just lost him. But he should be coming on any second now. We're having some technical difficulties. So how are you people doing? Hope you're doing well. I'm doing just fine. I'm doing just fine. Hope you people are doing fine. Welcome to Tuesdays with Terrence. I hope you're doing good, folks. I hope you're doing good. There he is. Let me just try to make him put him aside for a moment before we do our little intro. Let's see. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to Tuesdays with Terrence again. My name is Terrence Bardui. I hope you people are having a great day. Good evening, Mr. Alvin. Good evening, Miss Peach Goodwill, and anybody else who's watching my show tonight. I have a good show in store for you tonight. We've been having some technical difficulties. We're trying to work it out. It's not this time. It's not on my end. So, but just while people are coming on, let me see if I can play a song to get people in the mood. Because sometimes people get a little, what's the word? I don't know, discombobulated. Let me see. Now this one, I don't know if I want to play this one. This one, I don't know if I want to play this one. Let me see. Should I play a reggae? Should I play a gospel, an R&B? I don't know what I should play. But anyways, let me see what kind of music I have over here so I can put on. Are you drinking from your saucer because your cup has overflowed? Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we don't, right? You guys know this one?
Okay, class, sit.
You all know this
Your
one?
assignment is to write a 400-word essay.
Write a 400-word essay. I think he's a former educator as well. Yes. Welcome to Tuesdays with Terrence.
Let us take a look around, see what's going down.
Big tune that. Morgan Heritage.
Here in Jamaica, so many people still have like Rasta. Tell me how come?
Tell me how come? You know what? I don't want to waste too much time on music tonight. Only because I want to get my guest in. But tonight I have a very special guest. And just before I bring him in, you know, I'm going to play my theme song as we normally play it. You know, sung by my little baby sister here, Miss Maynard Thomas, talking about you don't have to be a star to be on my show. You don't have to have a million to be on my show. But I have a good guy tonight, and I'm really looking forward to him. So here's our theme song as we start. Welcome to Tuesdays with Terrence. Welcome, everybody. Introducing Mr. Anthony Drigo. Come, family.
Family, come as you are, with just your heart, and I'll help you win.
You can
Are
You can share it. You can share it now. Go on my page and share it.
Much more than you put in.
I don't need no superstars.
Now I don't need no superstar.
But I got one tonight.
I'll accept you as you are. You won't be denied, 'cause I'm satisfied with the help that I can provide. You don't have to be rich family to be on my show. You don't have to have a million family to be on my show.
You don't have to be rich. You don't have to have a million to be on my show. But I got a rich guy tonight. I'm going to tell you, I've never met him before, right? Now, he's rich in knowledge. He has his own podcast. We'll talk about that in a minute. As a matter of fact, I might give you a plug for his podcast because tomorrow I'm his special guest. We'll be talking about insurance. And I'm so excited. His name is Mr. Anthony Drigo. I've never met him, but I know his nieces and nephews were personal friends of mine, you know, in Boston. The funny thing is I left Dominica before Dominica was independent, right? So I'm a little older than him, but I believe he attended grammar school, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I was at grammar school. I got into first form, then we left. I got there in September of 77, and then we left, you know. Then, you know, he came a few years later. He knows some people I know. We'll talk about that. So as we bring him in, I want to say hello to Lucinda Bardui Alfred. Hey, condolences, Cuzzo, on the passing of your niece and your nephew and my cousin Sherm in that accident last Sunday up in New Jersey. You know, prayers for the family. So sorry. You know, I reached out to your brother yesterday, and we via text, and we talked briefly. And I reached out to Blondie as well. So our condolences on the passing of our family member this past Sunday. You know, for those of you who don't know, I do have a cousin who passed in an accident in New Jersey. He was actually a corrections officer, and he was in an accident, motorcycle accident. It was sad, and the family is mourning. So condolences to all the Barduis, especially Babuli, his dad, you know, and, you know, Blondie and Cinda and Heska and everybody, you know, condolences to the family. So tonight, my special guest is Mr. Anthony Drigo. He is an engineer by trade. You know, he's a construction guy, and he said a real estate enthusiast. But, you know, Morgan Heritage had a song, right? And it says, a man is still a man, whether he wear jacket and tie or he walk barefoot. The only difference is whether he's good or evil. That's what the song says, right? Now, I wear jacket and tie for work sometimes, and sometimes I don't. But tonight, I'm going to bring him on, and I'm going to introduce him on this song, all right? I'm going to introduce him on this song. Let me unmute him, and let's bring him on. You know, Facebook might try to block that song, but I want to play a little of it. Let me unmute him, and let me bring him on. There he goes. Mr. Drigo, gasto sa café.
Mola.
There he is.
Man, still a man. Without him wear jacket and tie, I am walking foot. The only difference is whether him good or evil.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Rocker.
Man, still a man. Without him rich or poor, black or white for sure. The only difference is whether him good or evil. Listen, friends, we see lots of different people in the street, wiping cat ass window. This is what they do day to day, just to get a little food to eat. Oh yeah. And then you have others wearing suit and tie, who work a good 9 to 5. They take it for granted that they live in a better life. I said the color of our skin don't mean a thing if we do good.
And he does good.
We're all judged by the
We're all judged by the same.
Jah is his
Yes, man. Mr. Anthony Drigo, how you doing, young man? Good evening.
I am doing great. I'm doing really, really well. I'm excited to be on with you. I think we're going to have a fantastic hour of conversation. But if you allow me, let me just also express my condolences to you and the Badwell family in Dominica.
Yes.
I worked with Lucinda when I worked at the Dominica Coconut Products, so I know her and I know, Floyd and so on, and Harolyn and this.
Thank you.
And also Thomas. I know the Badwells. So my condolences.
And she did tell me you guys work together. She did tell me that. And is your volume on high? Because I know you have a soft voice. You're not loud like me.
Oh, I'm not coming in loud enough?
No, you're not coming in loud enough. So make sure your volume is high, or just
it's probably
amplify your voice a little bit.
Let me see if I put this other earpiece on.
All right. See if that works.
This will be better.
All right. You sound a little better. People are starting to come in, and people are saying welcome to you. So you know what? We have a bunch of things to talk about tonight. I mean, I know you do your own podcast, and we're actually going to talk about that in a little bit because, I'm going to be your guest tomorrow on your podcast, and I'm excited. We'll be talking about, so for those of you who don't follow him on social media, Anthony Drigo, go follow him on Facebook, because tomorrow I will be his special guest, on his podcast. So I'm excited about that. So check this out, right? So you went to grammar school in Dominica. I attended grammar school. I had just started first form, and I left. Dominica wasn't even independent yet. You came a few years later because I'm a little older than you. And, some of the people that went to school there. For example, like Desmond Challenger, Shanti. That's my sister-in-law's brother, and there's a bunch of other people who went there, the Two Sands, and Glenn Etienne and all those people, man. So you are a grammar school guy. But Mr. Drigo, just before we start, I'm gonna give you a solo screen and tell the people. I'm gonna give you about 2 to 3 minutes to tell us where you're from. You don't have to tell us your exact address, but where you're located now, where you're originally from. Tell us how you got to where you are today, and then we can start our interview and talk about why we have you on tonight. Okay? There you go, sir.
All right, certainly. I hope you can hear me a lot better now.
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right, that's great. So, as you said, my name is Anthony Drigo. So I'm a Drigo from Castle Bruce. That's where the Drigos originated. There are a few Drigos other places around Dominica and Trinidad and St. Lucia and the US, but they all have their genesis from Castle Bruce. So that's where I'm from. My early years was in Castle Bruce. At 11 years old, I left Castle Bruce to go to the grammar school. So that was in 1978. I went to the grammar school. I think it was 1 year after you.
That's right.
So you got there, yeah. So
I was already gone to the US.
Right. But we can talk about Castle Bruce as what the village was at the time that made me who I am, because we had some dynamic teachers, like Teacher Dell, and so that would teach you how to stand, would examine your nails and your teeth and whatever it is, and those basic hygiene and deportment skills. Learn that very young in Castle Bruce School. Also part of the 4-H club. So we learned environmental responsibility, cleanup, backyard gardening. And of course, we were farming and fishing village. So I'm familiar with going into the soil and growing what you eat and selling some of it to make some extra cash. So those were my early formative years. And then I went into grammar school in 78, the first form. Went through the years in grammar school as they used to do at the time. If you show a little bit of academic talent, they push you into science. So I ended up doing sciences, although I was really good also at English literature. My favorite subject was actually English literature. So we did Shakespeare and some of the British writers like Thomas Hardy and some of the Caribbean writers, V.S. Naipaul, a couple guys from Trinidad. We've talked of the Tamarind and they had some well-rounded education from the grammar school. From that, got into the sixth form college, academic section of the sixth form college. I did the sciences at A level, math, physics, chemistry at A level. When that was done, I came to the US to study engineering. Went back to Dominica, worked for a while, and then came back to the States just around 20 years ago. So the kids could go to school in the US, make it easier for college and so on. So that's how, in a nutshell, that's where I am. I'm on the way. I became an environmentalist. I became a Pan-Africanist. My politics is more left-leaning than right. What else? I'm spiritual, not religious. I don't really talk a lot about my religion because most people are Christians, and I have my own ideas about Christianity. And that's who I am. Just the same person that you see right there. That's me.
So on Saturday, you gotta tell me Happy Sabbath then, Casa. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, I can tell you Happy Sabbath because I have no issues with people on their bus.
I know, man. I
like
just
some of my kids are 7-day Adventists.
Okay.
They go to church every Saturday.
Awesome. I'm just teasing you. First of all, I want to say welcome to everyone who's tuning in tonight. I want to give a shout out. My special guest is Mr. Anthony Drigo. We're going to have a great conversation tonight because June is kind of men's month. We're going to talk about, we won't talk politics, but we'll talk about fatherhood. We'll talk about, him being an engineer, and a bunch of other things we're going to talk about. But I want to say hello to, I've already said it to Peach Goodwill. I said hello to Mr. Alvin Vassar, Andrea Hill. I'm going to make an announcement in a second. Andrea Hill, welcome. Carla Smith, Drigo, welcome. Beth Amado, my client in Florida. Petra Carbon, all the way in the Virgin Islands. Sandra Charles and Donald and Coffee Pierre in Florida. And everybody else is watching. Some of you, if you don't say hello, I can't shout you out. I do want to make an announcement. Last week, I had a special guest, Miss Andrea Hill from Drea Travels. And, we had a great time. We talked about her as a soldier, an entrepreneur. And we actually had a little giveaway from her travel agency. She gave a giveaway, and people were supposed to put flames in the chat. All right. And everybody who put flames in the chat, we put your name in a hat. And there was a gift for, I think it was 4 days and 3 nights in Vegas, compliments of Drea Travel. And the winner of that is Joe Badwill. Joe Badwill, you may think it's kind of like, nepotism. No, not because he lost his brother, but I put all the names in a hat, and that's the name we came up with. So Joe Badwill, I'll make a post on that tonight after the show. I will tag him. I'll tag Drea Travels. And she also wants to tonight, because I have a special guest, Mr. Anthony Drigo from Dominica, she wants to put she wants to give a hotel accommodation in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic for 5 days and 4 nights, taxes and fees included, compliments of Drea Travel. So what you got to do tonight, though, if you want to win, 5 days and 4 nights in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic, compliments of Drea Travel, which was my special guest, Andrea Hill from Drea Travels last week. What you have to put in the chat tonight, you have to put DR or Dominican Republic. It's not going to Dominica. You have to put DR or Dominican Republic in the chat. Everybody who puts that, your name will go into a hat. Or if you're watching from a different platform, whether it's LinkedIn or X, which is formerly Twitter, or you're watching on YouTube, or you're watching on Instagram, or you're watching on LinkedIn, I'll have to go there and put you have to put DR or say Dominican Republic, or you can actually DM me. And most of you are watching on my Facebook friend. You can go Havis Bardouille, Havis Bardouille, Bardouille, or Bardouille Financial Service, or Badwill Financial Services, Bardouille Financial Services on Facebook. And you can put DR or put Dominican Republic in the chat. And at the end of the show, what we will do is compliments of Drea Travel. It's hotel accommodation in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic for 2, 5 days and 4 nights, taxes and fees included. Compliments of Drea Travel. Andrea, I want to thank you so much. Andrea, you better don't put DR in that thing because you can't win. I want to thank Andrea. She is originally from Marigot, grew up in Antigua, and now she's serving us as a soldier at Fort Lee, and she also has her small business on the side, Drea Travel. So she's giving a complimentary gift. So all our guests who are watching tonight, put DR in the chat. And then what we will do, if you don't put DR in the chat, you don't qualify because we don't know you're watching. Some of you are sneaky. You want to watch the show on the down low. You don't want me to know that you're watching it, or you don't want people to know. Well, you don't qualify. Put DR in the chat. I don't care how many times you put DR. Put DR in the chat. What we're going to do is pick out every name and then put it in a hat. And next Monday, you will know who won, or even maybe later tonight. Maybe I might do it tomorrow or next week, but you will know who will win the 5. Let me double check and make sure I look at it correctly. I want to say it. I don't want to say it wrong. 5 days, 4 nights, taxes and fees included to compliments of Drea Travel to the Dominican Republic. All right. So now that we've got our housekeeping done, Mr. Drigo, thank you again for being on the show tonight. I want to say welcome to who else? Glenda Severin, Daphne Paul, my childhood friend, Happy Claire, and everybody else who's watching. Sharice Lynn, hey, Sakafed, good to see you. Carla Smith, Drigo, and everybody else. I will go back and look at everyone after the show. So, Mr. Drigo, you went to grammar school, so you're really smart as far as I'm concerned, because I went there for a year, and then not a year, a couple months, and then we moved. Because if we would have been schoolmates and I would have known you, however, my family decided to take me to America, which I didn't want to go. Dominica wasn't independent yet, but I went, and it's home ever since, and I have no complaints. Very grateful and thankful to the U.S. for what it has provided for me and my family. So tonight, this is June. Last month, we had women on. We had entrepreneurs on. We talked about Mother's Day. Mr. Drigo, like I said, I know a lot of your nieces and nephews, some of them really, really well. Even Cleo Coffee was Thomas was part of a guest of us earlier this year as well. But you're a father. How many children you have, and what do you value about fatherhood before we get into our questionings? Tell me, sir.
Yes. So let me just take a moment to shout out to the fans and the viewers. Good evening to you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to what we have to say tonight. I am a father, and as a matter of fact, that is one of my most important roles. Like being a father, being gifted with the opportunity to guide young souls into the world and to help them to develop into responsible human beings is one of the functions that I am most proud of. And fortunately, kids are grown. The last one is 24. And so the first part of that mission of nurturing is over, and right now is to support and provide moral support and that sort of thing. So fatherhood, I think, is so important because kids need both. What they get from their mom and what they get from their dad is very, very different. And so one of the things I'll tell you here is one of the areas that I look at that I think we need to figure out a way to try to reach young people is this issue that results in a lot of folks growing up with one parent, where maybe the emphasis and the level of responsibility is not taught to the kids young enough. And so while you're young and high energy, a lot of young people end up having kids, and you have families that have multiple parents. So you might have a family where you have two people get married, and each of them might come to the family with kids from a previous relationship. So in terms of fatherhood, I think that's one area we have to try to examine to see how we can reach our young people earlier. so that we can try to bend that trend a little bit, in a different direction. I hope you understand what I'm saying, because um, it does provide an opportunity for a more challenging life than it would normally be, and so I take that very seriously. And in the experience that I have gained in being the father to 5 kids, um, I would like to be able to share that back and to help young people to develop that. Uh, Fathers also, I like to talk about men's health, because if you're not healthy, you're not able to be there for the kids as a father as you would like to be. And so, if anybody listens to this week in interview, I always encourage folks to go do your colonoscopy, go do your prostate exams, go do, we just lost somebody in the family last week to prostate cancer, not prostate, colon cancer.
Uh-huh.
That should never happen, because if you do your colonoscopy on a regular basis, they find the polyps early enough, and you never have to develop that. So men need to start to take better care of themselves. We take care of our families, we go out, we work, we bring bread to the table, we go to the games, we do the heavy lifting, so to speak. We have to make sure that we're healthy to be able to do that. So yeah, being a father is one of the areas that I take most seriously, and I'm most proud of and most dedicated to as a man.
And I understand that though, but you touched on something, and I agree with you because as a licensed insurance person, I have to deal with health all the time. And I was talking to a friend today who was telling me one thing they value about me is that my you see, I do my health is wealth walks. I go for my annual physicals. I had my colonoscopy 10 years ago. Next year, I turned 60 this year, so I need to go for it again next year. My doctor, I saw
10 years is too far apart.
No, I'll tell you what my doctor said, because basically they do all the different checks, right, for everything. And she told me this year, because I had my annual in March or February, I can't remember what it was.
Mhm.
And she said, even when I went for my initial, everything was sweet. They said, come back in 10 years. But I have friends who've gone for colonoscopies and they found polyps and so forth. But I think I'm not going to pick on Jamaicans, but I know a lot of Jamaican men, prostate cancer as well. A lot of men don't want to. I know in Jamaica they look at it as they're thinking of it as a homosexual thing, and they don't understand having your prostate and all that stuff checked. It's just for not mental health, but for physical health. And I care about it. I even think they can check in your stool and your blood and all those different things. So it's really important, and I value that. But you mentioned something. We are both from Dominica. You're from Castle Bruce. I'm from Point Michelle. And even if you talked about being a dad, even if you got 5 kids, I'm in a blended family, we have 5 as well. Even if there was a mother, like the whole village, I don't know how it is in Dominica now, because in a couple of years, it'll be 50 years that I've been in this country, right? But it took a village to raise. But you said, now there's a lot of families who are single parents. And I know that. And I know a lot of young people don't want to get married and have kids, but a lot of them are actually doing that. How can we, as a village, put our 2 cents in and help? Because sometimes we think like, well, it's not my kid, I don't care. But it wasn't like that when you were growing up. Neither was it like when I was growing up. Yeah, I had a mother and father. And as a matter of fact, in the village, if I did something wrong, like hop a truck, and then I fall, and somebody see me, they can tell my mother, and I get licks, and that happened. And if I don't say hello to an adult, I get licks. Now you don't do that anymore. So are we in a conundrum, Mr. Drigo? How do we help as parents with single parents who have children, especially fathers? How do we mentor? What can we do, sir?
So what I would say is that when we were growing up, almost everybody had a mother and father in the house.
True.
you know. So that's a
Oh,
big difference. So although the community help, it was a supplement, it was support. And I think we've drifted a little too far away from that. The pendulum was over on a ridiculous scale where if a young woman got pregnant, she lost her job. I think that was too far, to where now it's a little bit too accepted for men and women to have casual kids. And so I think with technology, with the way we have now control of our curriculum in the schools, I think one of the ways we can do this is to understand that kids can can they can understand much earlier than we give them credit for, and we should start inculcating in the kids from much younger, um, the aspiration of what you want to be in life and how having a child too early can affect your life. So a young lady, for example, has a kid at 18 or 19. If she's a responsible mother, her life is almost over, because now you have this thing attached to you that everything you have to do is affected by it. You want to go out, you have to see if your mother is available to watch your child for you so you can go out. You want to go on a summer vacation, you have it's a whole other thing that you have to take care of. Similarly, if it's a young man and he has a kid, um, if he is a responsible man, and we should be teaching them to be responsible, then that also becomes something that he has to, you go off to college to study. You have a child that you now have to find a way to support that child while you're trying to further your education. If you're responsible, you might have to forego college so that you can work to support your child. So it's not even so much of a moral thing. I think it's more of a practical thing to really get in early and teach kids, let them see what is possible, let them see what the consequences are, and help them to make up their mind that while you're young and beautiful and energetic, you should not exit that time with two or three other human beings that are now dependent on you, that's going to help to prevent you from reaching your full potential, because now you have a whole other human being that you're totally responsible for. And so it's restrictive as to what opportunities you can take advantage of, what you can try. You're afraid to take a risk, because if it fails, it's not only you that's going to suffer, you have somebody who's depending on you that's going to suffer as well. I think we need to start to bring those things into our education system much early, and we can study for our young boys, right? And our young boys will automatically be more responsible, and it will translate to our young girls. That's just what I think is one of the areas as men we need to pay attention to, how we can look back and see what we can do to make a difference to bend that trajectory in the society.
I mean, I hear you loud and clear, but I'm saying, I think it's important that men mentor young boys, whether it's in the church, whether you don't go to church, at a school, at a YMCA. I think sometimes a lot of the young parents, they're looking for that as well. But I think, and you talked about education, in America, it's like probably 3 to 1. Especially African American young ladies are going to college and actually finishing than it is with the young boys. And I think it's paramount, like you said, even back in the day, in Dominica and even here in the U.S., the high school I went to in Boston, right? It was an examination high school, but they also had a trade curriculum. You could do machine shop, electronics, drafting. Some people went to the military, some people went to college, some people became, use some of the trades. But now they got rid of those things. And I heard a psychologist say, that's what's destroying a lot of the families, especially in Black families, because not every kid is college material. And you go to college and you have a liberal arts degree and you come out making, I don't know, 40 grand a year. I mean, what is that? If you're HVAC tech, or you're a mechanic, or a plumber, you can do so much better. So I think it's important, sir, that we continue to mentor people. But you studied to become an engineer. I think it was a mechanical engineer. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm a mechanical engineer by training.
Oh, in training. And for example, I had a woman on one of my clients. I think it was last month or in April, and we talked about STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Hmm.
And that's really important. You talked about that. You did that in school and sixth form. But sometimes I feel a lot of parents nowadays, even though some of the younger parents are looking at their kids as a ticket for athletics or entertainment. And yeah, you can do that, but it's a small percentage that make it through. Education is the key. And I think we have to keep pushing that. And I think a lot of our families are. However, I must say, Mr. Drigo, I feel like sometimes, as black men, are we doing as much as we should in our communities? I want to welcome Miss Marie Dixon Brown, Tessa Thomas Dorival, and Elizabeth Bardui, my cousin, this week in interview as well. Everybody was in. If you're coming for the first time, make sure you put DR in the chat. If you put DR in the chat, compliments of Drea Travel. After tonight, we're going to pick someone to win a hotel accommodation to Punta Cana in Dominican Republic for 5 days and 4 nights, taxes and fees included, compliments of Drea Travel. You need to go follow Drea Travel on Facebook and Andrea Hill on Facebook as well. She was my guest last week. So make sure you put DR in the chat. If you don't put DR in the chat, you won't qualify to be in the pool to win that hotel accommodation to Punta Cana for 5 days and 4 nights, taxes and fees included. My special guest is Mr. Anthony Drigo. He's a mechanical engineer. Also, he told me he likes real estate and, construction. And would you disagree with me that the trade is being lost nowadays, especially in African American communities, sir? And why is that? Why has that lost? And what can we do to bring that back?
So it's not so much that it is lost. I think that things should be done deliberately, both on a personal level, on a family level, on a country level, community level. So if we talk about the African American community in the U.S., and we talk about our communities back home in the Caribbean, in Jamaica, in Dominica, in Barbados, in Antigua, in St. Lucia, we have to be deliberate about things. So when I was in grammar school, there was a college called the Technical College, and at that technical college, you could learn skills. There would be there would be cooking classes, there would be bookkeeping, there would be commerce, accounts and commerce, there would be carpentry, farming, auto mechanics, refrigeration, all of those things. And so,
but what happened? What happened to that, though?
Well. So that's what I was getting at.
Okay,
that's what I'm getting at. So, and there also was a junior secondary program, because the system, like I told you, I started going to grammar school at 11 years old. Not everybody is mentally mature to sit that exam and pass that exam at 11 years old. There was a second chance later down where you could enter the junior sec program and you could come into high school at third form and still get your academic qualification. But you also could get your trade. And there was also apprenticeship, because if you learn carpentry or masonry, they would look for somebody in the community who's a carpenter or mason and put you with that person. So not only you get the theory part of it, you also get to practice it. When I came from university in 1990 by engineering degree. I taught at the technical college. I taught the building and civil engineering program, the mechanical engineering program, and I did some work with the auto mechanics and the refrigeration programs at the college. In addition to preparing the kids, because some of the kids from technical college went on into engineering school. But even if they didn't do that, they would come out with skills where they can be draftsmen, they can be engineering assistants, and so on, like supervisors on construction sites. And so this is why when we got control of the curriculum, rather than to really look at what is required in the society. So the society needs mechanics. We need air conditioned technicians. We need people who can design websites. We need all of those things. What happened in a country like Dominica is that they blended the technical college and the A-level college. They blended it into one, and of course, it's like you have two cousins. One come from a prestigious family, one come from another family. Prestigious family overpower the, and so when they blended it, they did not blend it with a plan to really preserve the two natures of it, and so everybody started going after academics, and the trade and the technology part of it fell by the wayside. But it's simply because they were not deliberate. They didn't understand. No, yeah, we have a modernization of our economy. What are the new skills that people need in that new economy? But people still drive cars. People still do farming. People still raise animals. So you have people, the folks that would learn livestock rearing and be able to give advice to farmers. We lost all of those programs just because somebody took their eyes off of what is the purpose of these kids going to school. It's not going to school for the sake of going to school. It's going to school so that you can prepare them that they can be productive in the economy. And so that thought process somehow got disjointed, and we see the result.
Mr. Drigo, is so funny. We're talking about Dominica, how that happened, but the same thing here in America. Like I said, they had these trade schools, and now people are pushing people away from that. Everybody got to go to college, on the academic track. Like I said, liberal arts or I don't know, pre-med or pre-law or whatever it may be. And some people, I think, their gift is to be technical, because you need web designers, you need HVAC, you need carpenters and plumbers and electricians, and those people are making daggone good money, 45, 50, 60, 75 bucks an hour, especially you get on the commercial side. So those are good jobs.
So
and
if I can jump in here for a minute, one of the things that happened is that because we came from our ancestors being, or predecessors being enslaved people,
right?
And the enslavement was associated with work in the soil and work with your hands. It's not a surprise that we try to push our kids away from that, because there's that trauma associated with that aspect of our history, right? And so we all wanted our kids not to be fishermen, not to be farmers, not to be mechanics. We want our kids to be doctors and lawyers and engineers, because that is what we perceive would take them away from that hardship that they suffered at the hands of the enslavers, right? But I think right now we no longer have that excuse. I think right now there's enough information out there, and we should be sufficiently enlightened as a people that we can be more deliberate. But I think that is where that started. Like, you grow up in Castlebrooks and your mother will tell you, go to school. If you don't go to school and learn, you will end up by the basin in Stone after Big Ass, or you will end up, working hard for Cutler. So that mentality was built in, that if you're a farmer or you're a fisherman or you work with your hands, it was lesser than the person who dressed in a white shirt and writes with a pen. But I'm saying that we should outgrow that stigma now and understand that there are opportunities in all aspects of that. So basically, to get back to it, we have to make farming more sexy. We have to make mechanics, a more appealing thing. We have to make cooking and those kind of skills that you do with your hands. We have to make them more than just a fallback if everything else fails. We have to big it up and put it up and show that those are the things that COVID demonstrated, that those are the essential functions that keep the society running.
Exactly. It's so funny. When I was a kid, right? I want to say welcome to June Bardui Ansel, my sister watching in Boston, and Esther Duran Casimir, all the way in St. Martin. I believe she's on the Dutch side or the French side. I don't remember. Andrew Drigo watching. They sound like your family
That's my
member.
brother in
Yeah,
Anguilla.
all right, all right. And everybody else, Lazarus Joseph, and everybody else who's watching, welcome to Tuesdays with Terrence. You know, my special guest is Mr. Anthony Drigo. And if you want to win a trip to for hotel accommodation in Punta Cana for two 5 days and 4 nights, taxes and fees included, you need to put DR or Dominican Republic in the chat, and we will pick out the winner, and we will contact whoever that winner is, because we have a winner from last week. Our special guest, Miss Andrea Hill from Drea Travels. Our winner was Joe Badwill. He's watching tonight. He's military. That was his brother who passed in the tragic accident in New Jersey. My cousin. And no, it's no nepotism here. Is that we pull out the names out of a hat, and that's who came out. And so, if you want to be part of that, you got to put DR in the chat. Because if you all don't put DR in the chat, I'm going to put DR for my name so I can get in the chat. You know, I know. Then that would be nepotism, right?
Don't qualify.
I don't qualify. Me and Tony don't qualify. But but Anthony, you're talking about gardening. I remember as a child, and I know my sister's watching. She has a little garden in her yard in Boston. My dad had a little garden in Boston, in Point Michelle. My dad had a garden. My brother, in Point Michelle has a garden. My sister in Charlotte has a little garden. I mean, my sister in Alabama has a little garden. Everybody's gardening. And when I was a kid, I hated gardening, right? I'm a vegan, okay? And you're like, what, you hate gardening? Well, I wasn't always a vegan. I gave up that stuff in 86 when I was a young man. I'm an OG now, right? But I'll tell you this. It's important.
You've been a vegan since 86?
86, I gave up meat when I
Wow.
was 21. The funny thing about it is, I'll tell you guys this, right? During the pandemic, a lot of people learn how to grow their own food. And sometimes when you go to Whole Foods or Walmart and you buy organic, it's not organic. They tell you it's organic. So you're going to have to make your own. So it's really, really important that we understand that people need trade. And we would like to talk about our parents saying you don't want to be a fisherman or whatever. I don't know how much, I know Sandy loves red snapper, but I know back home when we were in Dominica, she was at the fish depot in La Puente all the time. And fish is expensive. You can see what it costs. So those are skilled stuff. People have to go in the waters. But what I'm saying, Tony, is as men, we have to encourage young African-American men, all men, but especially young African-American men, into careers and into fields that whether it's blue collar, because not everybody needs a pen. What did the song say? A man is still a man, whether he wear jacket and tie or whether he walk barefoot. The only difference is whether he's good or evil. So we have to teach them the right things to do that, and you're doing that on your show. I mean, you have This Week in Interview is your podcast that you have every week at Wednesday. So for those of you who are watching, make sure you go follow, send him a friend request, Anthony Drigo, and follow him on Facebook and his other social media platforms so that you can see what he's doing. Andrea Hill says, congratulations to your winnings. Well, the winner is Joe Badwill, right? And we'll get in touch with him. He'll get in touch with you, and we'll do that. So for those of you who want to win that 5 days, 4 nights, let me double check it again, make sure I'm saying it right. I don't want to say it wrong. It's 5 days, 4 nights, taxes and fees included to the Dominican Republic, Punta Cana, compliments of Drea Travel. Put DR in the chat, and then we'll put all the names in a hat, and we'll figure out who it is. So, Tony, our time is running from us. But I want to say this though to you, on your podcast that you do weekly, I see that you have a plethora of guests of different kinds of genres. You talk about Dominica. You said you lean more to the left politically than right. I lean more right. Sandy's more left. But that's neither here or there. I respect everyone's point of view. But what I will tell you is this though, on your podcast, right? You bring all different kind of guests and they talk about it. Why should people be watching your podcast? Is it only for Dominicans?
No, definitely not. We have folks that watch us every Wednesday from Trinidad, from St. Vincent. We have Grenadians. We have folks that watch us from England. We have some people in the Middle East. And of course, there's Dominicans, both in Dominica and outside of Dominica in Canada. On This Week in Interview, what what guides me is that I like to talk about contemporary happenings, what's happening right now. But I like to say that I bring it to you in a different manner than you would find it if you just went surfing on the internet or you click the remote on your TV. Always try to bring it from a different point of view. So, for example, last week we talked about the hurricane season and preparing for the hurricane season. But I brought a geologist on, and
Oh,
we
awesome.
we spoke about how the hurricanes are formed, why we shouldn't be scared of hurricanes, why hurricanes provide opportunities, and why hurricane is important, an important weather system that distributes energy around the globe. So therefore, because we believe that if people understand a system, they will be less afraid of it, and being less afraid of it will help them to prepare for it. You wouldn't just hunker down and hope you don't die. You can actually look at a hurricane as an opportunity. It's an economic opportunity, because when a hurricane is coming, everybody scrambles and buys all the supplies and whatnot and whatnot. Home Depot in America is empty because people are sending down timber and plywood and barrels and this
Right.
and that and the other. Why can't we in the Caribbean know that hurricane is coming and make a business out of that, so that all that money that goes for preparedness and recovery is spent in the region? So you see, we always bring a different point of view, a different perspective to what we talk about. We try to encourage folks to take care of your health. Men, every year you should do a prostate exam. And
That's
it's
right.
not enough to do it by a blood test. You go and you get the digits up, and you get the doctor to feel your prostate, and he will tell you if it's swollen or not, because prostate cancer is almost 100% curable if it's caught early enough. And once a year is early enough. You go do a colonoscopy. And I bring the experts on. I've had the doctors who are the experts on, and it says, okay, it takes about 7 years for a polyp to develop into a cancer. So if you do your colonoscopy every 5 years, the polyp never has a chance to become a cancer. If they find a polyp, you repeat it after 3 years to make sure they know. But if you always clean, because it takes 7 years for a polyp, in general, for a polyp to go into a cancer. So men over 50 should be doing it every 5 years, because you will catch the polyp in time before it becomes a cancer. We talk about obesity and diabetes, and of course we talk politics, because
It's
I
life.
tell you,
Politics is life.
yeah, politics is life. But as a Caribbean person, we used to be so proud to say we're from the Caribbean. Now there's nothing in the Caribbean to be proud about. What is it that we're achieving in the Caribbean? But carnival and fete, and yeah, we have to have a good time, but it cannot be all about
Creole
a good
Fest
time.
gas,
Yeah,
Carnival gas.
again, coming back to hurricanes, we get hurricanes in the Caribbean every year. Caribbean is surrounded by the ocean. Why do we have to depend on the US to send a plane into the hurricane to tell us what's going on in the hurricane? Why can't we do that for ourselves? You know, as other people, we have to aspire more. We come to the US, we come to Canada, we come to America, and we run their country for them. You know, I'm a project manager. I manage construction projects. I went to Dominica, and I went to the folks. I did projects in Dominica as well.
All right.
And I said, my services are available. I can help you to put a program together to manage projects. But projects overrun all the time.
All right.
How do you define deliverables on your project? How you manage your schedules? How you manage change orders? How you manage scope creep? All of those things that our people would benefit from. We doing it in another man's country, and in our countries, projects flounder and take forever to happen. And after they're done, they don't last a long time because quality control is not in place and so on. As a Caribbean person, I look around, I don't see a lot of things that we can say we are proud of, And in the Caribbean, we have the advantage where once slavery was abolished and we became independent, we pretty much ran things. So we don't have the same excuse
As
an
African Americans,
American.
I say that all the time.
We
I
don't
agree
have the
with
same
you,
excuse,
sir.
and we have nothing to show for it. And so, where is our linkage to Africa? we are island. When we were colony, the British had two ships that would run from one island to the next. You could jump on the ship and get up at whichever island that you want because one is going south while the other one is going north and
No.
vice versa. We could not even maintain Leah.
Right.
So I'm saying that as a people, we have to aspire because we know we can do it, but we have folks looking at us and saying, you know what? When we give those people their things to run, they cannot do nothing with it. Every year they come back and beg us for aid and beg us for this and beg us for that. And I'm saying, no, we have the talent, we have the resources. We just have to have the will to do it. The British built an entire empire on colonizing us.
They sure
And we've
did.
been in charge of our economy now for decades, and we've not been able to make any headway. I heard the Dominican Prime Minister after Hurricane Maria went out and said, if we don't get aid from you guys, if you guys don't help us, there's no way Dominica is going to recover. And I felt ashamed. We're an independent island. Maybe we get a loan, but don't tell me that if somebody don't come and help you, there's no way you can recover.
But we help all the time.
System.
People sending barrels of money every month. I mean, for family and friends.
But it shouldn't be that. I'm saying that one thing you know for sure is that Dominica is going to get hit by a hurricane. It might not be this year, it might not be next year.
All right, but it always happens.
But we know for sure it's going to be happening. What are we doing to make sure that when it happens, we can recover?
You know, it's funny that you say that. When I was a child, I left the island before Hurricane David. I remember in Boston, my mother went back home with my baby sister to bring barrels and stuff for family and stuff. But I was already up here. So when we were little kids and it used to rain, it used to be fun. We used to run in the rain, tutuni gasa, tutuni, naked. And you go under the thing, it was like a shower, and you bathe in tutuni. We would go river, tutuni, go by the sea, tutuni, and have a good time. It's different times now. And I think David and Maria and Erica and whenever there's a little rain back home, people get worried. But I think you're right. People have to make sure they're aware of hurricane season's coming, make sure they have the right things in place, and stop trying to be social media princes and princesses, with designer crap, and make sure you're preparing for that because we never know what can happen. Man, our time is gone. Can you believe that, Mr. Drigo?
We know what's going to happen. We know we're going to get hit by a hurricane.
Exactly. Man, we got to bring you back on. We got to bring you back on the show, man. We didn't have enough time. I think I did too many preliminaries. For those of you who came in late, I want to say welcome to Sam Hill, Valdemary Peltier, Contrite Heart, and everybody else who's coming in late. The show is called Tuesdays with Terrence. My special guest is Mr. Anthony Drigo. And if you came in late, make sure you put in the chat DR or Dominican Republic, because if you put that in the chat, your name will go in a hat to win a hotel accommodation in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic for 5 days and 4 nights, taxes and fees included, compliments of Drea Travel. My friend Andrea Hill was my special guest, and she wanted to give a special gift. Last week, we had a special gift. We had a winner already. We'll post it on social media as well. But Mr. Drigo, we're going to have this other conversation. And what I want to do one time is let's have a conversation and not make it a Tuesdays with Terrence, where I think people who know me and they don't know the Dominican part of me, because I left so long ago, although I have my Dominican accent still, I left so almost 50 years ago. I don't know much about the political system. And to be honest, I know a little bit and I don't get into it, but I have my views, like I said. But we got to get you back on to talk about that. In closing, sir, we got 2 minutes because I got a meeting at 8:05. In closing, right, what would you like to tell to the audience that they should tune into your show this week in interview? Because tomorrow night, I'm your special guest, and we're going to be talking about financial services and especially insurance. And I'm prepared and ready. But what would you want to tell the people about your show and about you and why they should follow you on social media, sir? Go ahead.
Right. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I had a brilliant time. All flew back. It's interesting to be on this side of the mic, being asked questions and trying to discipline myself. Like I want my guests to be disciplined in terms of answering the question and then stop for the next question. But it was an absolute pleasure. So good night to the folks. I heard a lot of the names that you called my listeners to this week in interview. As you said, Terrence is going to be my guest tomorrow night, and we are going to focus on insurance, life insurance. I know what a lot of folks say, oh, I don't need insurance, so it's expensive. No, come and learn about it. 8 p.m. tomorrow. You on Facebook, we are there's a This Week in Interview page. We do this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. I want to say a very special good evening to the fathers who are listening. June is Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to you. But give yourself a Father's Day gift. If you haven't had your annual checkup with your doctor, go do that. Do your colonoscopy, do your prostate check, do just general, do your blood work, and just take care of yourself. That's health is the most important thing that we have, and let us just live with intention. Let's have a reason why we do what we do, and have a good rest of the evening. Thank you so much, Avis, for giving me the opportunity to talk to your audience. I totally enjoyed it.
Man, I'm so glad that you were on tonight. I got to bring you back on because you're always interviewing everybody every week. It was so good to see you on the other end. We get to pick your brain a little bit because we didn't even get into a lot of the stuff. So we'll bring you back again. I promise we will do that. I want to thank you for your support. You watch the show. When I do my Health is Wealth walks, you're always commenting, and I watch your show as well. I've seen a lot of the guests that you've been, like Dr. Wallace and a lot of the other people that you've brought on, and I continue doing a great job. I want you to stand on for a moment as we close. Just hold on for me a moment, Anthony, as we close. Folks, the show is called Tuesdays with Terrence. My name is Terrence Bardui. My special guest was Mr. Anthony Drigo. He is an engineer by trade, a construction guy, and a real estate enthusiast. And he gave some good tips to men for Father's Day. Get your prostate check. Get your annual checkups. I did my annual checkups. I do everything that he said. I do it. Make sure I do that. But I'm saying to you guys, make sure you get that in. And for those of you, I want to say welcome to Mr. Noble Rock, my classmate from Boston Tech. You missed a great conversation tonight. I talked about tech a little bit. Go back and watch the show. Put in the chat, Bruce, DR. Everybody who puts DR in the chat, there's a special guest that I had last week, Miss Andrea Hill from Drea Travels. She's given a hotel accommodation in the Republic for 5 days and 4 nights, taxes and fees included. So if you put DR in the chat, also Delphina Leblanc, welcome. If you put DR in the chat, we're going to put all the names between tonight and tomorrow. We'll put all the names in a hat and we'll pull out a name and somebody will win. Last week we gave out, to Vegas. I think it was 4 days and 3 nights, whatever it was. And the winner was Joe Bardui, Joe Badwill. And the thing about it is, folks, I'm telling you guys, I want to put my name in there because I want to go to the Dominican Republic. I've never been there, but they told me I don't qualify. I wanted to put my name for Vegas. They told me I don't qualify. So I want to say thank you, folks. Don't forget to put your name in the chat. And as we close, you don't have to be a star to be on my show. You don't have to have 1 million to be on my show. But I had a superstar tonight. God bless you, everybody. Have a good night as we play our theme song. Hasta la vista. And thank you, Mr. Anthony Drigo. Hang on the line, Anthony, as we close. Good night, everybody. Put DR in the chat if you want to win. You got to be in it to win. You don't put DR, you don't get to win. Trust me. I'm gonna put DR in there. I'm gonna put DR in there. I won't win though, but I'm gonna put it in. DR.
Family, come as you are.
Go, family.
With just your heart, and I'll help you win. Are you rejected or hurt? To me, you're worth much more than you put in. Now I don't need no superstar, 'cause I'll accept you as you are. You won't be denied, 'cause I'm satisfied with the help that I can provide. You don't have to be rich family to be on my show. You don't have to have 1 million family to be on my show.
Boom. You don't have to be
Boom. Come on.
You don't quand même, that's right. Boom and quand même. You don't have to be rich to be on my show. You don't have to have $1 million to be on my show. But folks, listen, my special guest was Mr. Anthony Drigo. He has a podcast This Week in Interview. I'm going to be his special guest tomorrow night. Make sure you go follow him on social media. If you want to rent a trip to the Dominican Republic, you know, remember we told you, it says, I want to say it again, what it says hotel accommodation, that's what it says, in Punta Cana for 5 days and 4 nights, taxes and fees included. You got to put DR in the chat. I put DR in the chat, but I don't qualify. I just did that to get you guys to do it, okay? Have a good night. God bless you. I had a superstar tonight. Follow Mr. Anthony Drigo. I'm going to be his special guest on his show tomorrow night. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. I got a meeting with my team right now, but I want to say goodbye to Mr. Drigo. God bless you all. Hasta la vista, babies.